I'm Lada from Astrology.com, and today we'll continue with the lesson about capacity to be in a relationship. And we started it last week. I will continue. I'll be giving you tidbits, a little quick astrological gems of information which you can use on charts of people you're interested to date, or people that you're just interested about, or about your own chart as well. And today in particular I will speak about the horoscope of a woman, because it's different, the characteristic that define if a woman can be happy in a relationship, or if it will take her a few relationships or a few years longer than average to be happy and fulfilled within herself, so she can attract the happy relationships. Today we'll talk about such specific characteristic that you can find in the horoscope. And if you see that you have such in your horoscope, or in the horoscope of the woman you love, and if you see you have one, two, or three, more than one or two, of the things that I'm going to talk about, then it's probably a good idea to order my astrology capacity report for female relationships, or for male relationships, for that matter, because it will explain you how you can deal with this energy much more in detail, and it will explain you when your relationship life will get better and how you can improve it, what you can do to improve it. Now here I will just give you some outlines, what astrological factors my teacher used for compiling this type of report for capacity for happiness in relationships. And if you see that you have a few of those, don't freak out if you have one. Almost every person on the world has one. Very few people know how to be in relationship from the start. These are people who will not be interested in astrology generally. People who have no problems in relating to others. They'll never be interested in self-help or spiritual improvement or getting to know themselves, because they're already there. So almost everyone will have at least one or two, but if you start having more than two or three, and you combine what I give you now in the video with what I've given you from previous video, the capacity for relationships #1, and the videos that I will give you even later, and if you start seeing more than one of those factors in your horoscope, then maybe it's a good idea that you order this report to see how actually you can overcome this and to have more in-depth understanding of it, because I'll be much faster here. So in particular for women, the most important planet when it comes to relationships, for how a woman feels within herself, and if a woman feels happy within herself, she will be able to relate with more ease and with less pain to others, and then she'll be much happier in a relationship. And the planet that actually rules this in a woman's chart is the moon. And what you have to do, quickly go to my website astrology.com. You need to know your time of birth, at least approximately, Go to my birth chart calculator, order the place and time you're born, and you will get a chart similar to this with below it there are the positions of the planets. You will see, there is a graph with the positions of the planets. Or if you already know some astrology, probably most of you will be using the Western style chart, which is the same thing, just drawn in a different matter. Here the first house starts from here, while in the kind of more Vedic astrology chart, the first sign starts from the top. But I will lead you through so you understand how to do it. And once you see this, I want you to find where the moon is situated in your horoscope. And I'm talking, this is for women in particular, So say the woman is the moon, sorry. So say you're a woman and you have your moon here. Doesn't matter, wherever it is. You just see it somewhere in all of those houses. We call them houses, 1st, 2nd, 12th, doesn't matter. And the first thing I would want you to look for is if you see another planet in the same quadrant as the moon. So, for instance, you might be having, because this planet will very much affect the emotional state of a woman. And we'll have to see if this planet is a good planet or a negative planet, more cruel or beneficial planet. In Western astrology chart, you will see it like that. Maybe you have your moon here. It's going to be shown like the sign of the moon. And I want you to check if there is another planet in the same sign. Make sure it's in the same sign. It's not only house. It's not house. It can be in different house, but in the same sign. So say it's in Libra, your moon is in Libra, and there is another planet in Libra as well, So what happens if the planet in the same sign with the moon that you have is Saturn, for instance. It's a very difficult planet. This is a planet that will show that a woman, her emotional state, how she feels within herself, Saturn will affect her emotional state deeply. And the closer the aspect between these planets is, you can see it underneath this chart. You can see, say, for instance, it says Moon in Libra at 5 degrees, and Saturn, you will see Saturn in Libra at 10 degrees, and if it's close, the aspect, the more you will feel the psychological influence of Saturn on your emotions. But if it's, say, the Moon is at 2 degrees and Saturn is at 25 degrees, Libra, whatever sign it is, then the influence that I'm talking about will be much weaker on you. And this applies to all the planets and combinations that the Moon has with. And I'm starting first with one of the most difficult positions. So you have the Moon and Saturn together in the same sign. The closer the degree to each other, the more strong the influence is, I repeat. Well, the Moon is your emotional well-being, and Saturn is a planet that lowers up your vibrations, that will make you feel sadder and more pained as a woman, that will make you feel less receptive, because the Moon is receptivity, how open we are to receiving good things that come to us from outside, from the people around us, from the world around us. And when Saturn is there, usually a person has had a difficult childhood or has not been nurtured emotionally early in their life. So they expect negative things from people, they don't expect these people to wish them good, or they're kind of fearful from the environment, from the surrounding around them. So these people might take them a while to start relaxing in relationship and feeling loved, because these people were usually either in a past life or in early childhood, they were not given enough love and nurturing. They will project this to the partner, especially till you're 30. After 30, 35, this position with Moon and Saturn starts relaxing, so these people can be happy in a relationship after the age of 30, 35 onwards. And I even won't recommend people to settle early in life with this position. If they have Moon and Saturn in the same sign, I would recommend them to settle after 30, 35, because before that, they will just not have enough belief in themselves. Their confidence as well is lower, their trust in others, they're kind of more, they're not open to receiving the good things, because of this mistrust that they have, and of this. It's often people like that, they also feel low about themselves, their self-confidence is low, their trust in themselves, their self-love is low as well. And when you don't love yourself enough, it's hard for another person to love you fully. But usually the lessons of Saturn are learned till after 30, 35. So a person with this position starts relaxing, so they can find love more easily after that. And the same applies if Saturn is in the fourth sign from the Moon. Say, for instance, Saturn is not here, but it's in the fourth sign, a sign. So we count always in this direction, the chart goes in this direction. Count if Saturn is in the fourth sign from the Moon, because the fourth sign is the sign of emotional receptivity again. So it's very similar to the Moon. It means very similar things as the Moon. So for instance, 1, 2, 3, 4 here. And if you see that your Saturn is in the fourth sign from the Moon here, and we count always the house of the Moon, 1, 2, 3, 4, always start from the house of the Moon, the sign of the Moon, then the influence will be very similar, because fourth sign from the Moon has the same connotation as the Moon. It's an emotional house. It's a house of emotional receptivity. So again, these people will be more pained. They won't be more open to receiving love. Or if it's in this chart, look, 1, 2, 3, 4. And you need to see the sign of Saturn here in the fourth sign. Make sure it's not the fourth house, the fourth sign from the sign the Moon is in. It will have a similar influence as the Moon being together with Saturn, And what I talked about, the Moon in Saturn, applies to you as well. Then the next very painful position for being in a relationship, it will just affect your life generally as well, how you feel, how good you feel about yourself, how well you feel about your for a woman in particular, how confident, how well, how relaxed emotionally, how stable emotionally you feel. And the next very difficult position is if you have Rahu in the same sign as the moon or in the fourth sign from the moon. You know, if your moon is here, for instance, you just do the same. Count 1, 2, 3, 4. So if you have Rahu here in the fourth from the moon, it will have the same influence. You know, doesn't matter which house it is. Just count 4 from the moon or in the same sign as the moon. And the closer the aspect is, the more difficult, the longer this influence will be in your life, the more painful it will be to overcome it. So if the moon is at 2 degrees Aries and Rahu is at 25 degrees Aries, there is such a big gap between them, so you very barely feel these influences of Rahu. But if your moon is at 2 degrees Aries and Rahu is at 5, 6, 7 degrees Aries, it's quite close, so you feel it. And why is Rahu? Rahu is the north node in Western astrology. You know, so you say you have your moon, say here, and you have the north node, which is in Western astrology, it's with this sign here, or in the fourth sign from the moon. You know, if you see this, it's a very difficult position, because this kind of women, we're talking about women only, this kind of women, the moon is her femininity and receptivity. And Rahu is an illusioner. So Rahu is a planet or the north node is a planet which shows what we haven't developed in a past life. So when it's with the moon is your femininity and your receptivity to others. You haven't developed that. You haven't learned how to relax, how to be receptive to the good things in your life, how to receive. Moon is receiving. So such people, they might be, it's not that they don't want to receive, but they might find it hard to appreciate something when they receive it. When it comes to them, they're not, you know, they don't know how to appreciate it, or they don't even realize it's something good that comes their way, you know, because they're not so used to receptivity. They don't really know what is good for them emotionally. The moon is what is good for you emotionally, what you need. And when it's not developed in the past life, when it's with Rahu, which shows something you haven't developed in the past life, you don't really know what's good for you, you know. So you tend to make wrong choices in your relationships. Also, when the moon is with Rahu in particular, this position, it makes very sexy women. A lot of sex symbols have this position. They're very attractive to men. A moon with north node, you know, as we call in Western astrology. These women will be like sex symbols, like Pamela Anderson has something similar. Aishwarya Rai has something like that. And everyone thinks, wow, I want to be with this woman. But actually, these are more pained women because they project this femininity and sexuality, because Rahu is a master illusionist. It can project what it doesn't have, and what he's trying to do, it can project it stronger. But actually, these women, they don't have so much femininity within themselves. They don't have this receptivity, kindness, and sweetness, you know, so they'll be a bit hard to be in a relationship. I have this position, so I'm a pain in the ass, I tell you, you know. But don't worry, again, after 35, usually after 30, 35, sometimes up to 40, you know, this starts relaxing. And Rahu is also a planet of extremes, so when it's in the first house from the moon or the fourth house from the moon, this woman can be very emotionally extreme. The moon is emotions and your emotional reactions to things, and Rahu is that you overblow something, you know. So it's like a magnifying glass. So if someone tells you something, you take it too personally, you take it too emotionally, you react, you say, that's it, I'm not going to be with this person, you know. Oh, he doesn't respect me. Or you react really painful to the person instead of telling him, listen, you're hurting my feelings. Because, you know, with the moon, if you have a well-developed moon from a past life, you know how to express what hurts you, what pains you, what you don't agree with. But when you haven't developed it, or when Rahu is in the first or fourth sign from the moon, you kind of react painfully. Instead of saying, listen, you're hurting my emotions, you go like, oh, you bastard, I hate you, you know. Or even if you're not such pain in the ass, you just somehow you react with aggression or pain, or just a mood swing, you know, or you don't even share exactly what you feel because you haven't learned how to really, from past life, how to relate your emotions, how to be in touch with your emotions and your needs, and thus to express them to your partner so he knows what to do with you. Even when you don't feel good about something, you often will not be aware why you're upset, you know, to explain it to the partner. And as you understand, this can be quite painful in relationships, and all this exaggeration of emotions, you know, and often men will be so attracted to such women. I've seen it over and over, you know, but when they get to know them, these women are a bit of pain in the ass. But again, don't worry, because of more, Rahu is a very unstable, chaotic planet, and with the moon, your emotions also become like turbulent, chaotic. But that's why we come in incarnation. With age, after 30, 35, 40, you kind of settle down. You kind of learn how to be receptive to the good in your life, to appreciate what's coming to you, and to realize what is good for you emotionally, what is not. Because these people usually don't know in their earlier age. These women in particular don't know exactly what is good emotionally for them, so they go for the wrong type of guys. And they react emotionally turbulent to that. So that's another difficult position if you have. So it might be wiser, not to rush too much into relationships. No, you can rush into relationship, but, your real, more happy relationship will come later in life. Then another position. Let's say you have the moon, another painful planet that can make relating difficult, but it's not as painful. The two most difficult planets are Saturn and the North Node, or Rahu. But if you have the moon, the third more painful planet is Mars. So here, say you have the moon here and Mars here in the Western chart, it will be like that. Or the 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, say in the fourth sign from the moon, which is again emotional, receptive sign. And the Mars is the planet of the warrior, of having very strong opinions. And why do you think these women will be more hard work to be in relationship? Because when they think something is right, or if they think something, they'll really hold on to their opinions. They will not step back, and say, okay, let's decide what is best for the two of us. No, this is right and this is how it has to be. These are very strong women. They can achieve a lot in life, actually. Don't be too scared when you have this in your chart, because these are women that especially is very good for financial increase. When you have Moon and Mars together in the same sign, and the closer they're together in degree, the more you have an opportunity for success, because Mars is a very ambitious and driven planet. But because Moon is our emotions, why it's bad in relationships, in the material world, is really good to have this combination. But when it comes to relationships, your emotional world has to be receptive, to be happy. A woman to be happy in a relationship, she has to be receptive, have to be able to appreciate what she gets from the man, and her emotional reaction should be settled, so she doesn't always bust balls or whatever, or feels too unhappy and dissatisfied within herself. And then, of course, the partner will feel it, and relationship will tend to flounder. But when you have Mars, this woman will be strongly opinionated in the fourth sign as well, very strongly opinionated. Doesn't want to budge down from her decisions, and she'll be more argumentative, so to speak, and more ambitious, more like get up and go, let's go and do this, let's go and do that. Well, a man feels properly appreciated when he is the initiator, and women with such positions might be the one who initiates things more, and the guy will not feel so masculine, so it's good to remember, it's not always good you to be the stronger if you're a woman. Actually, a guy feels more masculine when the woman is asks for his opinion, when the woman asks for his direction. Even if you know how to do something, it's actually good to to ask the guy for his opinion and for his direction, because that's what makes a man. The actions that he can help you with, the things he can give you, that's what makes a man feel happy in a relationship, when he feels appreciated. But with the Mars, these women, they tend to try and do it all themselves, or to try the guy, to tell the guy what to do. And the closer the aspect is, the more this can, be like that. But of course, with age, this relaxes, the woman becomes more receptive and not so, extreme. But it's not so difficult, it's not so painful as having Saturn or Rahu. The next one is the North Node, the South Node. In my chart, it will be indicated as Ketu. Say if you have Ketu with the moon, or 1, 2, 3, 4, in the fourth sign from the moon. In this chart here, in the Western chart, it will be indicated as the South Node, or 1, 2, 3, 4, or if the South Node is in the fourth sign from the moon. And the South Node shows what you've been developing in a past life, but you haven't really done. You've overdone it, or you've done a bit of a wrong job of it. So you've learned to really control your emotions in a past life. So women with this position, they'll try and keep their emotions. They'll try not to share them, or even when something pains them, they would keep it bottled up. And sooner or later, this comes up, and the relation, and the man is like, what, frustrated. What's happening? You never told me this was upsetting you. And, you were keeping for so long. So women with this position, they'll tend to keep their emotions more. They'll tend to be more, especially now, if they feel in a negative way, when Ketu is with Moon, if they're in a bad mood, nothing can improve their mood. Even if the man is coming and saying, come on, let me take you to a restaurant, let's go doing that. These people, till some time passes or till they get out of this funk and this deep mood, they'll not be able to, no one will be able, out of circumstances, or the partner they're with will be able to get them out of this mood. And this can be frustrated to the person, These people, when they go in a bad mood, they have to wait it out, or they have to, they're so involved within their own inner emotional world that they shut out everything from the outside, Only the emotional turbulence, that's what matters for them, and nothing can change it, So these are more people that are more frustrated. These are women that are more frustrating to be with because of this emotional control they have over their feelings, or because of this hiding of their feelings that they do normally, and then they release them later on, they come out, and this creates difficulties in the relationship. And because of those really deep emotional states they fall in, which no one can get them out of, but only themselves can get themselves out of it. But they're very psychological, very women that analyze everything, that think everything, every word, every gesture, what he said, what he thought, and they really relive it very deeply within themselves, and they can go a bit too stressed within their head, and, but it's painful, but, it's not such a high level painful still, but it's one of the indications, again, that you can have difficulties in relationships. And then I think, and then the sun is the least harmful one, because the sun, not because it's a bad planet, it's the least, it's not going to affect it so badly, but because the sun is a masculine planet, active planet, so instead of the woman being receptive emotionally, she's more inclined to acting, to reacting, to taking the lead again, is not as strongly as with the Mars planet, because Mars is a very masculine planet, but it's rough as well. The moon is much more noble, so their reactions will not be so extreme, but it's still, it can give it 1/3 of the negativity of the other aspect. So even 1/4 is not so bad, but it's, again, it can create for the woman not to be so much in touch with her emotions, because she's trying to act more, she's trying to lead, she's trying to do more rather than receive, And then the things that actually will make you happy in a relationship, if you have the happy planets. So it will make you a much easier person to be, much easier woman to be with in a relationship. Say if the moon is with Venus, Venus is a good planet. Or Venus is in the 4th sign from a moon. Venus is a planet of affection, so these people will react with much more affection. They will be emotionally receptive. Venus is a feminine planet, so you're open for receiving, and you appreciate it when you receive. Even the smallest gesture and look and, air kiss from your partner, you'll receive it. You'll not demand more. You kind of feel more comfortable and grounded within your emotions, and emotional reactions are much more healthy for the partner, so men tend to appreciate that. Or if you have Jupiter, Jupiter is, Jupiter here or here in the 4th sign from the moon. Again, Jupiter is a tolerant planet, and you react very tolerantly emotionally. It's a very optimistic. You'll be an optimistic person. You'll be quite happy. Whatever another person does, you will not look for the wrong things they've done. You'd accept it. You'd accept the person as they are, and you'd appreciate again. Jupiter is a very tolerant and again appreciative planet. And optimistic, and wise. You react with wisdom and without this emotional pain, And of course, you see the bad planets are much more, the difficult planets are much more than the good planets. And Mercury is a good planet as well. So Mercury will make you react interested. Mercury is a planet of communication, will make you talk out the emotional problem. You try and understand it in your mind, and you try and express it verbally, and you try and make a joke even about it rather than reacting stressfully and painfully when something comes, So that's also a good position, And you see there are 3 good planets compared to 4 or 5, more negative. So you see much more women will have such pained positions in the horoscope, which only comes to show, that we come here on this earth to work on our relationships, and most people, they are better off to try a few relationships first, and it's not only for love, it's also relating to other people. A lot of people are born with pained personalities, more difficult personalities, and they work these out in relationships. And you see, again, I repeat, if you see having a few of those positions, maybe it's a good idea to order this My Capacity Relationships for women. And next week I'll make video for men, what actually can affect their ability to be happy in a relationships. This was only for women right now. And once you order this report, you will really see the full picture, because now I'm just giving you bits and bobs. And you can combine what you learned today with this video from what I gave you with the past video for Rahu and Ketu. If you remember, I'll put connection from the first video. And if you have a few of these combinations as a woman, maybe it's a good idea to order this report to see how actually, because there are other factors that I haven't mentioned as well, maybe they can balance your horoscope. So you have a chance to be... Just quickly, I want to add to the first video a few more points. Actually, all the things that we talked about in the female horoscope also apply if these planets are situated in the first house of a horoscope, which is the sign of the ascendant. So you have to find if you have any painful planets. Don't look at the moon anymore. You have to find if you have any of the difficult planets, which are Saturn, Rahu, Ketu, Mars. I think these are the most painful ones, or even the sun, but not the sun. I wouldn't include it. If you have those in the first house, now you look the indications here. You don't look from the moon. Now you look the indications. The first house, or here, for instance, you have to have Saturn, South Node, North Node, Mars, the more painful planets. If you have these in the first sign, in the first house of astrological house, so if you have it in the fourth house from the ascendant is also an emotional house. In astrology, every fourth sign from anything, from the sun, from the moon, from whatever planet, or from the ascendant, it's an emotional sign. So for women, again, only for women, if you see their Saturn or Rahu in the fourth sign, or Ketu here in your horoscope, or Mars, or here in this sector for the Western chart, you will have more emotionally extreme reactions, be emotionally more pain, which means that it will take you a few years to settle down, to find happiness within yourself. And when you find happiness within yourself as a woman, when you feel more emotionally settled down, then you'll be able to have emotionally satisfying relationship. So, the same that we counted from the moon with those planets counts, matters if you have those planets in the first sign of the ascendant, or in the fourth house, the first house or the fourth house. But with the moon is always more painful, the houses also matter, but with the moon is always, you feel it a bit more, because women, the moon is a female planet, and they're really connected to emotions.